to you from the Spit Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. This is the Spit Sports Show. Wow. Like, I just talked about last episode how much I love just doing episodes with no notes, just going off of my brain and talking about football, what I know, my favorite team, and it's why I love doing podcasts. Well, God bless the freaking Detroit Lions, because they give me the beautiful opportunity to do it 2 weeks in a row. The Detroit Lions demolish, expose, unpants the Minnesota Vikings 31-9 in a Sunday night football matchup that was declared the biggest regular season game of all time by every television network and analyst. Detroit walks into their home stadium and kicks the Vikings to the 5 seed, where they're going to lose in the first round to the LA Rams. And that's where I want to start, because before I get into how good the Lions are and how important this 1 week of rest will be and how I was right about everything I said about their win over the 49ers, I want to start with the Vikings, because I love the NFL so much, because it really does unveil who you truly are. It might not be week 1, it might not be week 2, week 3, week 4. It might be all the way up to week 18, where we finally figure out who you truly are. The mask comes off and your identity is revealed. And Sam Darnold, Cinderella turned into a pumpkin real quick, didn't he? And adding the Vikings' terrifying loss today to them exposing the frauds that are the Packers the week before. The Packers weren't competitive in that game. I don't care what you say. They made it look close to the end. Good for them. And then the Packers lose to the Bears this week. So the Packers are obviously exposed that they are not a Super Bowl contender whatsoever. The Vikings go all the way down to the 5 seed, where they have to now get over this loss and prepare for a playoff game against Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, coming off of a week of rest. The Vikings are going to be cooked. The Packers got cooked 2 weeks in a row. And all of the dominoes led up to the top, where it's been the whole time. Guys, the Lions have been the best team in the NFC all year. They were in week 1, week 2, week 3. You guys, and I'm not saying you guys to Lions fans, because I know there's plenty of you watching. Love you all. I'm not talking to you guys, but everybody else. You guys all talked about the injuries, how beat up our defense was. You couldn't possibly win a Super Bowl with 13 players on IR. And look, you know what? The past 3-4 weeks, it looks like you guys were right. It looked like you guys were right for a bit. We were averaging about 35 against us a game. It seemed like we couldn't cover anything. The pass defense was awful. You guys looked great. But then, like I said, it might be up to week 18, but your identity gets revealed. And the identity of this Lions team is they don't give a they don't care how injured they are. They just fight. They just cover. Oh my gosh. Now, what I will say is, you know what makes this even more beautiful? Is it feels like there is some football god higher power looking on this, because this all could have changed in one play. And this is the one little tidbit of positivity I'm going to give to you Vikings fans, because I think it was in the third quarter, Jared Goff threw a wide receiver screen to St. Brown, and Andrew Van Ginkel had that thing in his arms like a baby and fumbled that rock. Now that probably would have been a pick 6. I think Sewell would have run him down. Regardless, that's a huge play in the game, and it didn't go your way. And I don't have a lick of sympathy for you. I don't care at all. Like, there plays like that happen all the time in football games. That's what's so beautiful about it. And they're finally happening towards the Lions' favor, because they deserve it. Because they've been the best team all year. Everybody knows it. The NFL gods know it. And everything is right in the world. Everything's right. The Lions are at the top, and the Vikings are at number 5. That's about where they should be. They're obviously better than the Packers. They just whooped them the week before, and I'd take them over the Commanders. But yeah, you're about the 5th best team in the NFC. That's a good little spot for you. But enough about the Vikings and the Packers with their puke green losing to the Chicago Bears, nearly going 0-6 in the division. By the way, they should have gone 0-6 if they didn't get that lucky field goal block against the Bears. They should have gone 0-6 in the division. The Packers suck. I want to talk about the Lions. And I want to start with Amik Robertson, who is a name that you guys probably don't know very well. We signed him this year from the Vegas Raiders, my bad. I can't stop calling them the Oakland Raiders. Signed him from Vegas this year, and he was supposed to be our slot corner because we wanted to move Branch out to safety. Now, that worked really well at the start of the season, but as Carlton Davis went down and then, a bunch of back end pieces went down. Melifongu hadn't come back yet, and it was really just a big shuffleboard at corner. Eventually, Robertson had to move outside, Branch had to move to the slot corner spot, and if Melifongu had to move to the strong safety spot. And what that leads me to is for a lot of this game, and I'm not saying all of it, but a lot of it, he was matched up against Justin Jefferson without help. Now, he had plenty of double teams. I'm not going to pretend like he soloed him out. Justin Jefferson is one of the best receivers that I've ever seen in my life. But I can think of 3-4 different plays in the red zone where there was no help on his side, and he held up. Now, one of the balls was obviously bad by Darnold. He overthrew Jefferson. But on a couple more of them, they were just perfect coverage and perfect technique. And speaking of perfect coverage, I'm just so excited. I can't even speak words. It's perfect coverage and perfect technique. Like Alex Anzalone coming back to this team, I knew it was going to be huge in this game, and it was huge in this game. Now, the linebackers didn't have to play as far up against the Vikings because I think the Lions kind of trusted that their front could handle the Vikings run game better than it could the Niners for whatever reason. Don't ask me why. That's just their scheme. But Anzalone was in man coverage against Hawkinson plenty of times without help, and he more than held up. Add to the fact that he is the captain of that defense. He's the communicator. Obviously, his impact was felt tremendously in this game tonight. I know he got a game ball. I cannot wait to watch Dan Campbell's locker room speech. It's going to be so much fun. I'm really on cloud 9 right now. I was so nervous for this game too. Like I was like, because I thought the Lions were going to win this game. I put a more amount of money on it than I want to admit. I felt great about our chances, but obviously no one thought that it was a shoe-in that the Lions were going to get this win. I was nervous because if we drop to the 5 seed again, and Arnold looks like he's going to be out for a little while, the x-rays came back negative, thank goodness, and another defensive line injury, like it would have been tough. And our guard got hurt at the end of the game. I think he'll be okay as well. I think we got out of this game pretty much injury free-ish. But it would have been a tough spot going to LA. No doubt about it. I would have been terrified. I wouldn't have picked against us in the first round because who am I kidding? Why would I pick against the Lions ever? It's just not happening. But it would have been a bad spot. But it didn't happen. And a big reason why it didn't happen was because the Vikings, even with their offense being dog water, and even with Sam Darnold turning back into Sam Darnold, our offense was pretty stagnant besides one touchdown drive. But our quarterback is unrattleable. Like, it was so poetic and funny. Like, Chris Collinsworth in the booth, who I love Mike Tirico. He's my favorite play-by-play guy in the world. Collinsworth, he's whatever. But he was talking about how this is the most out of sorts the Lions offense has looked all season. And it just so happened that drive, they happened to go 70, 80 yards down the field and give Gibbs one of his 4 touchdowns. I think that was the one he caught out of the backfield. Goff's unrattleable. He's seen so much at this point, and he's taken so much punishment, both physically and mentally. There's just nothing that's going to be able to get him out of his zone. And his zone isn't going to be perfect sometimes. It's a team sport. I didn't think he played particularly well today. I think the deep shot to JMO was more where that got intercepted was more JMO's fault. I haven't seen the tape on it, but I just don't see Goff making that throw to Harrison Smith like a baseball player with a free catch or a pop fly. It was terrible, but I'm assuming there's something more to it. I thought he played lights out in the second half though. And I thought he did everything he needed to get us the win. And I would want no one else as my quarterback going into these playoffs with this roster. And to end it off with the roster, like Jahmyr Gibbs is like ridiculous. Like Alvin Kamara's stupid good, and people forget. People don't forget. Alvin Kamara's stupid good. In his prime, he was stupid good. He had 6 touchdowns in a game. But this guy's a bit stronger than Alvin Kamara. He fights for those tough short yards a little harder than Kamara does, I think. I think Kamara's a little smoother, better balanced. But this kid, man, especially if Montgomery sticks around and he's not logging those Alvin Kamara carries on his body, he definitely has the potential to be a legit Hall of Fame running back. And there's no question about it. Like, he was the X factor differentiating player in this game on offense for either side. I thought it was going to come down to Justin Jefferson or Jahmyr Gibbs to who was going to do their thing. St. Brown obviously is always going to be awesome. But those two, whoever had the bigger game, was probably going to end up being the deciding factor. And it was Jahmyr Gibbs, and it wasn't even close. And add on to the fact, like, the Lions lost the turnover battle 2-0, including a terrible pick that ended up putting the Vikings on the 7-yard line. Like, not everything went their way, and not everything has gone their way this entire season. Believe me. As soon as Hutch went down, and then the one that really killed me was when McNeil went down. It was just like, man, maybe this isn't the year. Maybe this just, injuries happen. Maybe this is a 49ers year from a couple of years ago, or even the 49ers now, to be honest. Although I think a lot of their injuries have to do with their old roster construction. But regardless, you kind of had that feeling it was going to be a year lost. But thank goodness I don't play on the team, because these guys do not care. They don't have that mentality at all. And whoever comes into Detroit, I think it might be Minnesota. It might be the Rams. I haven't honestly looked at much of the NFC playoff standings because I've been watching a bunch of the games, and obviously I watched this with my full eye on the screen the entire time. So I'll get into that all later. But whoever comes into Detroit, I think the Lions are probably going to be favored by 4 or more points in a playoff game, which you win one playoff game, you're in the NFC Championship, which is also going to be in Detroit. It's like, it's hard to bet against Detroit winning the Super Bowl right now, or at least making it out of the NFC, especially with the weird vibes coming out of Philly. And I think they're going to smoke Green Bay. I do, because I think Green Bay is not, I don't think Green Bay is good. To finish this off, because I hate the Packers. I freaking hate them. They literally haven't beaten a good team this entire season. Please look up their schedule. Every single game they've won has been against a team that was middling or flatly bad. I think they had a win against the Rams with no Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. I think that's their best win of the entire year. The Packers are terrible. The Lions are the best, number 1 seed. I don't know how you can disagree with anything I said this podcast, but if you somehow do, leave a comment about what you disagreed with, so I can tell you why you were wrong and we can have a conversation. If you agreed with me, leave a comment as well. We can talk about how great the Detroit Lions are and how awesome they're going to do in the playoffs. We can do that too. Also, if you like the video, maybe leave a like on the video. That usually helps. Please subscribe if you really enjoyed what you heard. Spit Sports Show just hit over 380 subscribers. As always, I will see you all in the next one. Go Lions, go Lions. Peace out.